That's an interesting one.
It's a very interesting one, but it's very prototypical, isn't it? Because we see this especially when we start talking. I mean, I could point the finger firmly at me and a lot of other folks that are starting to work on their level 3 certification. And there's a mix of things that are going on. Some of them are not, none of it's bad. It's just kind of like there's some orders of where things need to be that are not quite there. So that's why I kind of threw that video out for everybody to look at and just kind of give me some thoughts of what you saw. If you've seen it, if you're not, I'm going to put it up right now. There we go. Bam. All right. And I know this person, by the way, so actually everybody at Winter Park knows him. Knows him.
Yeah, the first thing I notice is that the spray is coming more from like the back of the sort of half of the back of the ski than the entire ski or the front of the ski.
Yeah. And why is that?
Probably because he's not totally centered in front of the skis.
Cool.
I mean, when you look at his ankles, they look like they're flexed, but I think that would go along with he's not directing pressure along the entire length of the ski.
And it's not, well, he's directing pressure. It's more of when and not how, right? We're kind of past the how now. Because like you said, he has some ankle tension there that's happening. But it's kind of like, when is he doing it and how is he doing it?
So Chuck, I looked at this and I was like, you were talking about looking at fore aft and how it affects things.
Yeah.
But because we're getting a front view only, and I don't get to see him from the side, it makes it harder for me to figure out where he is. Yeah. And I'm like, is he forward? Is he backwards? And I kind of went through this and I said, or is he in the front or is he in the back? And I said, well, what are the skis doing? And then I went, well, where's he pivoting? Where's the ski pivoting from? And it seems like he's pivoting more from the front.
Yeah.
So I'm saying he's too far forward. And that also helps me with the fact that his tails are sliding out. So he's skidding his turns because he doesn't have enough weight back. He's not initiating with the front of the skis. So that's making him make those slippery turns.
Okay.
That's
cool.
Kind of what I'm seeing. And I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I for the first time, I'm like, what are his skis doing? And does that tell me what's going on with fore and aft? And I think he's too far forward.
So that's a logical set of assumptions, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to assume he does this pretty consistently across the board. As those skis tips off the snow.
Ski tips are off the snow.
But you don't know what kind of skis he has. He may have a lot of.
Oh no, I know this guy. He's probably got his Stokely's on.
So it's not a lot of camber.
I do like how you're addressing this part here. You're seeing a lot of tail movement, right?
Right.
And the tips are not moving that much.
Right.
So there's a whole lot of pivoting, and it's more or less, this one's a little less so. There's more engagement early in the turn, but this side is pretty consistently late. Right in there.
And there's more banking than angulation.
Right.
When he turns to the to the left.
So
Well,
this is the fun part, right? I mean, this is what we really talk about. It was one of the things I wanted to work on was we got a lot of movements that are happening here, and there's some movement priority that's happening. What is
He
causing
also-
what, or what is a result of what, or where are the cause effect relationships between the fundamentals? Because I've got at least, well, we got all 4 fundamentals or all 5 fundamentals that are happening. I will check out one of them, which I think is the least of concerns right off the top of the head, which is edging. Right? He's achieving edging. Now it's not ideal and it's not uniform on both sides. Like that is bad, right? But I have a sneaking suspicion that this movement here is what's causing this movement here. So I'm not looking at edging as a movement priority. Doesn't mean I might not use edging as a, as for skill acquisition. It just means that right here, I don't think edging is what the problem is. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, as I look at him, I like that he's getting pressure to the tips of the skis, but I'm not as happy about when he's getting the pressure to the tips of the skis.
Ooh, yeah. When is he getting pressure to the tips of the skis?
Yeah, it's after he's rotated them.
It's way, and you could almost argue that he's really not really gotten tip pressure to the tips of the skis. He's really just kind of pushed the tails out so far that eventually he has to rest on the tips.
And he's got a couple of turns at the end where he's clearly on his inside skis, getting divergence in his tips.
Yeah, he had a lot of that during those times. That was kind of a reoccurring feature. And again, that's another one where I look at it and I'm like, is that the cause or is that the effect? And I'm like, I'm kind of on the same page with edging on as I do from ski to ski pressure. I really feel like the problems that he's experiencing are not caused by ski to ski pressure. It's really something else. And that's why I like this. I love this video is because it's very interesting to look at it and say, okay, that's why I picked it for the fore aft. I thought, man, this is like perfect for fore aft. When does he get any pressure on the tips of his skis? It's kind of like right there, right?
Mhm.
And right about there. Now he's finally got pressure on the tips of his skis. But when he's here, what happens?
The tips are up the snow.
Tips are off the snow. And then why?
Well, because he's more towards the back of the ski. He's not, I
He's
cannot tell really if it's that he's not, well, you said, ski to ski, like I cannot tell if he's not putting enough pressure on the new downhill ski early in the turn.
right. What's he doing instead? So this comes to that second question, or the first question that I always ask is what's moves first? So he's like right here and he's starting a new turn. And what moves first?
His upper body.
His upper body. But notice the extension of the legs at the same time, right?
They're actually practically the same length, so you don't have like short leg, long leg at the.
Yeah, there is not really a whole lot of short leg, long leg. And this could be as a result of upper body rotation.
He's really got flexed ankles at the end of his turn.
Yeah, he's trying to resist pressure, right? He's trying to alleviate pressure. So he's flexing into the late part of his turn. But this is a key medicine right here, right? He moves up and he twists, and he does it simultaneously. This part right here. And it's less so, and then the result is it's less so on this side. This side's really bad, right? There's a whole lot of sliding into third base right here, right? Because he gets to here and look at the legs, And he's almost got like a reverse C going this way.
Yeah.
He's really twisted his upper body, and it's kind of travel. You can see it traveling down the lower body until it gets to here. And now, he's on the inside ski. His edging is pure inclination, right? And then all of a sudden he stomps on it. Bam, there it is. And this side's not quite so bad, but there's still a definitive twist. Here, a twist before the extension. And then, but it's kind of the same result. He still created a little bit more angle here. It's less inclined and more, there's inclination, but there's also, it's a little bit of,
Angle.
pre angulation that's happening, which allows him to carve a little bit of the top of the turn here. So he gets engagement, but the engagement's still like right at the apex or slightly after it. And then it's like a skid.
It's a skidding engagement.
It's a very skiddy engagement because he spent the top half of the term accelerating, right? There's nothing here that's slowing him down. He doesn't start slowing down until here.
Yeah.
He spent 2/3 of the turn accelerating, and now he's slowing down. He spends 2/3 of the turn accelerating, or maybe half of the turn accelerating, and then it's slow down again. So this, when it comes to the movement priority, what I'm seeing is he extends as he twists at the top, and that's upper body twist. So what's the natural thing that happens with upper body twist? Kind of
You
go.
you lose the pressure on the new downhill ski.
Yeah, you lose pressure as a result because you go uphill and backwards, right? And if you look at his body, it's moving uphill and not downhill. It's all up. And then the next little part that I see might speak to his intent. My inclination, as far as I'm concerned, or not inclination, let's not use that word. What I'm positing is that perhaps at the level that he's at right now in his skiing, he's always had a little bit of pressure, had a little trouble getting pressure early to the outside ski or onto the tips of the ski early in the turn. And therefore, he's been using upper body rotation to start his turns since day one, right?
So
And
what level is he?
Legacy movements, huh?
What level is he?
Well, he's a level 3 now, and he's working on his RMT. And he's a good skier, but this was several years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
6 now.
Yeah, exactly. 6 years ago.
Who is it?
It's Adam. Adam Stidham.
Oh, yeah. He's a good skier.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't ski like this now.
No.
No.
I mean, this is 2017. So this is a year before I started working at Winter Park. So yeah, what I'm positing is that yes, there is some legacy movements that are there. The legacy movement is go up and then twist instead of moving down the hill and letting the skis come up and move across. And as a result, he moves his body more side to side than he does down the hill. So the up move and the twist is to get the skis from one side to the other. And at this point in time, This might be what his thoughts are. Instead of driving the ski, he's trying to figure out ways to slow down. And by the way, I believe this is Ingle Dive.
Wondering if it was that or Vista Dome, but I think you're right.
It's pretty dang steep.
Good snow, though.
Great snow.
Yeah,
Ideal.
powdered sugar.
So anyway, so we'll go strictly to the presentation. Does this make sense, to anybody? Everybody, those who are involved. Like I said, the idea here is to understand that all the movements are interrelated and how they interrelate. And that these movement patterns, even though I hate that movement pattern name, I have to live with it because that seems to be the best words for it. But these movement patterns develop over time, and these are your preferred ways to move, and which, you know, when you get to this level, makes it really, really hard to get better because you're stuck with your old patterns. You got a lot of old baggage you're carrying around with you. And the baggage that you're carrying is just the ways that you were successful previously in moving and skiing downhill. Now he even like slaps his poles on that side, doesn't he? On the left side, or I guess on the right side. You're kind of just kind of slaps at the pole. Says
I hadn't thought about that. What do you think about the pole length?
well, I think the
Any
polling,
thoughts on that?
I mean, where is the polling happening? Is it happening out in front of him? I mean, the basket's going out in front of him, but is his hands moving forward? Nothing's really moving forward.
Well, the pole touch seems to be more on the side than downhill.
Yeah,
And again, I think to Kevin's point that his poles may be too long.
That's kind of what I was thinking when I was saying too.
That would be a really interesting discussion. I was skiing with Jim Shaw, 1st of May, and he's my height. We're both 6'4". His
Yeah.
poles are a good 3 inches longer than mine.
oh, Larry Murdoch is what, 6 inches shorter than I am?
Mm-hmm.
His poles are 5 inches longer than mine.
Uh-huh.
3 inches. He has 46s and I use 43s.
Yeah, I don't know how they use those poles without having it affect their body position, but
They
you know,
don't
Jim
realize-
is
they don't
national
rely on
team
the
member.
poles.
He's figured out something I don't understand, obviously.
Yeah, they just don't rely on the polls. So, all right, cool. Does this make sense to everybody? Everybody got something out of that? That makes sense. Let's see. There was one person who couldn't make it tonight and he sent a response too. Let's see how close he was. And Kimberly was coming back in. What he saw was the center of mass being too far back at the transition and at the top of the turn 2 aft, so the skis weren't working until halfway into the turn. That's pretty accurate. So lots of inclination, not much angulation, definitely on one side more than the other, but much not much upper body, lower body separation. So the front of the ski wasn't weighted at pressure. I suppose the feet weren't slowing down at the end of the turn. We're gonna talk about that. Cool. And the center of mass moving in a direction they turn. So what would be, you know, when you're looking at Adam from here, what would be or thinking about him, what would be a natural thing you would work on? Oh, good Lord, Misha, I thought that was actually you and photo. What would you work on? I mean, what do we got to get him to do? What would be different?
Start with rotation, and then I think beyond that, for him back then, get him figuring out how to initiate his turns with an edging movement instead of an up on weight and rotary movement.
Okay, cool. Anybody else got any ideas? How about dolphin turns? You think that would help?
What's a dolphin turn?
You know, it's where you actually like kind of jump up in the air and then physically pull the skis underneath you and point the tips down.
Is that kind of
Leapers
like what they call leapers?
Kind of like leapers, yeah. Leapers would be a good one. But it's definitely the idea is to get the skis down as quickly as you can. Thought I had a video up of somebody doing that. Maybe not. BTS. Oh yeah, here we go.
Hi, this is Harold Hart, and today we're going to introduce
And we
you
got Harold Hart.
how to learn book short.
Oh.
So here's how to practice the right approach. Start by trying.
Oh, shut up, Harold. I don't need to talk to you. And Harold's a very good skier, and he's a former PSIA demonstrator years ago.
He's not a fan of PSIA.
Huh?
From what I've seen of his posts, he's not a fan of PSIA.
No, because he and PSI had a separation of ideas. But here's his idea of this dolphin turn, where you kind of
Oh, I
leap
see, with the tips down. Got it.
and then you bring the tips down. But it's not just bringing the tips down. I mean, that's the result. That's the outcome you're looking for. But it really is, how are you doing it? And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Because he kind of, in this video, and I think Harold's got some great ideas. He's got some very interesting ideas. He's just, it's like everything, the only problem that I have is that it just seems like all he ever does is carve. Even though I've seen him in bumps and he's amazing. He's just an amazing skier. So, all right. Let's go to the slideshow. Start from the beginning.
I'd just be concerned if he was doing something with like those jumps, given that he already pushes his tails, that pattern could continue at the end of that jump.
You know, the idea is to get the tip pressured, right? So you're going to be unweighting the tails of your skis anyway. Right now, he's doing it how? He's doing it more of an up movement. And then turning, this would be more of a get the tips up or get the heels up and then get that movement where he's pulling back and getting the tips down. I'm offering that as a suggestion. I'm not arguing one way or the other. I'm just throwing some ideas out, right?
What about railroad tracks?
Yeah.
You know, just get on an easy slope and get the feel of that, getting on that outside edge and having edge engaged the whole time.
Yeah. I kind of like Bob Barnes's idea of skiing backwards a little bit too, right?
Hmm.
Do railroad tracks backwards so you can get the idea of what position you got to be in order to pressure the ski. Because it's like remarkably farther forward than you think it is.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Way farther forward.
I'd
Alright,
like to see how he does with short turns. Slowing himself down. He seems to be going pretty fast on a steep incline. And so he's got pretty heavy defensive mechanisms happening that he's seems to be braking as much as he is turning. And if he a tighter, shorter turns, it might force him to get his tips more engaged earlier on.
I would think the risk of going to shorter turns is he just starts throwing his skis, throwing the tails.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You're more likely to have more braking on shorter turns if you're skiing defensively in steep terrain.
Well, I think if you're making shorter turns, you're controlling your speed a little bit better than letting acceleration require you to throw in some defensive braking.
All right, 4S fundamentals. I mean, it's like I said, there's a million different ways we can do it. And that's why I'm not shying away from the idea of using edging. I mean, we could talk about doing progressive edging or what Scott did, which is railroad tracks. Talk about if we could create a platform early, then we can pressure it. Right? But we got to get the body moving forward. And the ultimate idea is get that body moving down the hill instead of up. We don't want it to go up, we want it to go that way. That way. The trainers have been beating me up this year. We need your
Oh.
body to move down the hill, Chuck. We don't want you to go anywhere. We don't want you to move sideways. We want you to get going down the hill. Down the hill. All right, cool. What did we talk about last time? Last time we talked about ankles and how the center of mass moves in relation to the base of support. But we're totally talking about kind of like more in a static position, because we have our little reference angles here. This is Tom Gelly's version of the reference angle. I'm not saying this is correct or incorrect. I kind of like it. It's entirely up to you to make that decision whether you like it or not too. But this is really kind of like a static thing, right? And the problem is that we are moving and we are on a moving platform. And how we move through the length of the skis really affects our ability to move the skis and to bend the skis where we need them to bend. This is a great illustration here. I don't know who this is. I think this is Heinrich Stenson. But you can see clearly over here on the far left where the arrow is, you can see the ski begin to bend just within a ski length. And then when you get down here to the second one, you can see like, yeah, there's some bending at the tip, but look how much more bending is happening at the tail of the ski. And he's moving his body from front to back. And then at the end, the last frame there, I wouldn't say he's in a balanced position, would you?
He's pretty much in the back. I mean, he's
Yeah.
sitting on a chair.
But we all know that, right? Because we've seen ski racers do this all the time. But he's in a position still where he can move. But he's not, he has to allow for the fact that he has to let those legs come up underneath him, come up in front of him a little bit. Because if you let him just come up underneath him, he'd get bucked. So he has to let them kind of come up a little bit forward and get the knees out of the way and then extend back out. But when he does it, his body is moving down the hill and his body is out racing his skis, which allows him to now get ahead and pressure the fronts of the skis again. And then worst part is that as we all know, the ski terrain is moving out from underneath us too. So we are constantly adjusting how we are moving our bodies. Right? I mean, again, this is like Donna Weibrecht here. And the only real balanced position I see really is kind of like maybe on the top of the mogul here. But as soon as she gets over the mogul, look what's happening to her skis. She's trying to get those tips down as fast as she's doing it. She's doing it the same way Harold Harb's doing it. Kind of like a gluteal pullback.
Hey, Chuck,
Yeah.
back up to Donna there. This is kind of interesting. Can you draw a line through her center of mass to see where it hits her skis? Because to me, I
Well,
think it's farther
actually,
forward than we realize.
Do you see
I'm talking about the second to the last frame.
the second to last frame? Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
she's pulled, and the base of support is, well, this is something for discussion because you kind of brought it up, like, right? And you kind of brought it up in a way that was a little bit different. You were talking about how we move from a steeper condition to a shallower position, how we adjust our bodies because we have to, because if we're going like this and we're skiing down the hill and all of a sudden the slope goes up like this, what happens to our bodies?
Body continues to go downhill.
Same direction it's been going. So we have to figure out how to adjust our bodies to move this way. But at the same time, when we're on steeper conditions like this, we don't have to have our bodies completely like this all the time, right? Because you look at her position, her body position, it's almost as though the center of mass is over the base of support from a gravity angle standpoint.
Yeah. I think
right?
it is. If you draw that vertical line,
It
I think
is.
it goes right through the center of her skis.
And that's an important thing that I just kind of came to the realization here in the last year is that just because the center of mass looks like it's behind the feet does not necessarily make it so, because we have this hill that we're contending with too. And it's really about where the mass is over the front of the boot, over the ski, not what visually looks like it's supposed to be. Does that make sense? If you're moving down the hill like this, and you have all this, and the steep hill's this steep, and your body's positioned like this, right? You're just it's gonna be bad. Because you have all this leverage on the front of your skis. You're gonna be driving the tip in. And what's gonna happen? It's gonna be like a cartwheel motion, right? And you start watching these big mountain skiers and they open up. Because they know they don't need to be way far forward in steep terrain. They gotta be far forward when it's flat, but when they get up here, they go, I don't need as much leverage because the gravity's pulling me down straight into the ski tip anyway. So it comes down to where that balance point is at, and not necessarily what's visually supposed to look like. Cool. And I think there's I might have gotten rid of it. I think I might have gotten rid of it. Sorry.
Chuck, let me share my screen for a second. I just
Yeah.
drew a line
Well,
through.
here's the
her.
one I was talking about right here, right? So when you're flat like this, okay, here's where the center of mass is over the base toes of the base of support, maybe a little bit too far forward. But as you get steeper, it gets a little bit more precarious because now you're adding more leverage because you have more mass that's out of balance now, right? And I'm talking about from a static standpoint. What my suggesting is that maybe you don't have to be quite that far forward in really, really steep conditions.
So you're saying the green line is appropriate,
The green line is of gravity,
right?
right? But if I was to put a line here, here's a base of support, here's a center of mass. I mean, we're kind of losing that idea of center of mass over base of support. And that's kind of where we go back to this Donna Weinbrecht thing here, where the center of mass is in constant movement against the center of base of support, but it's over the base of support for the most part.
So you're raising an interesting question in my mind. Is your base of support perpendicular to the skis or perpendicular to gravity?
Base of support is the skis.
So perpendicular to the skis, it's not the gravity line, it's the other line.
It is,
Yeah,
okay, I'll explain it in a different way. I'm looking at from the center of mass.
Look at the angle of her skis. They're not horizontal to gravity.
No.
They're at whatever, a 30-degree angle. So that puts the line of the center of mass is at that 30-degree angle. It's not at the vertical angle.
Yeah. Center of mass is right here. So even though it looks like she's in the back seat, if we tilted her this way,
but take that same line and draw it perpendicular to the skis. Start it where you started it.
Would be here, yeah. And the center of mass is behind that.
Right.
I think you could pretty much say the center of mass is going to be behind the base of support on all of these. But the point of the matter that I'm trying to argue is that just because the center of mass looks like it's behind the base of support in relation to the ski hill does not mean that you're not pressuring the tip of the ski. Matter of fact, if we got her in a position where we feel like it's real, like here. I would venture to guess that she would have so much tip pressure that it would be bad. Because all of a sudden, all the gravity she's way out here instead of back here. I don't know. That's nuts and bolts. That's really deep in the weeds.
Yeah,
The point of what I was trying to say is that when we start talking to people in like really steep conditions and they're like, they look like they're back, does not necessarily mean that they're back. They're getting functional skiing from tip to tail, because it's really about where the center of mass is in relation to gravity and a base of support. You want the base support underneath your body, underneath your center of mass. All right, cool. But yeah, I love this. I love this. I don't even know where I found it. As soon as I saw it, I know I had to keep it. It's a good one. Cool.
Go back to the previous slide if you could, please.
Yeah. This one?
No, the one where you have the shadow.
Oh, this one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. So is the shadow the proper stance in steeper terrain as opposed to kind of being totally angled?
Yeah.
Where here all the joints are sort of aligned, but essentially you're not in balance for the terrain.
Yeah. You want me to add a little bit more complexity to this?
Yes, please.
Let's talk about it dimensionally now, because when we go down the hill, do we go down the hill like this? No, we go across the hill. So it's not as steep across the hill. So now we got to get our effort to move forward here. But as we get to this part here, we're opening up. And then when we get down to here, we open up even further. But as we swing in, the body outraces the skis again. It's not as steep over here. We've got to get, and we're getting tip pressure, and then we open up when we get to this part, the next apex, and go down. Because the hill, our relationship to the hill is always changing. It gets from steeper to less steep to the steeper to less steep in relation to the kind of turns that we're making. That's a scary thought. So I'm going to let that one marinate for a while. And this is, the only problem with this, what I'm showing right here, is that it's static. And we do sometimes talk only in static, right? All right, cool. And then the big question, this is a big point that I've been making with my students this year, is that, and anybody that I've been working with in a home here, is that your stance, and everybody who talks about it internationally, they don't talk, they have a fore aft, they may have a fore aft fundamental, and they may have a ski to ski fundamental, but they talk about them as a stance. They don't talk about one or the other. They talk about stance. That's really like an AASI. I'm sorry, not AASI. What is this? Australian ones. They are ASPI or something like that. They are big on stance, and they talk about fore aft and lateral movements in stance. So, and I kind of like this idea of stance too, because it makes a lot more sense. And I've just, if you want to, there's a really nice article, and I got it. It's on a blog of getcarve.com, and it kind of goes into even more interesting little tidbits on about stance for those of you who are curious, and how and what they're showing here is the linking of your hands to your legs and all kinds of interesting stuff to think about if you're a junkie like me and this is all you do every day. As I dream about snow. Right, and then if you remember for the last time, I don't know if I emphasize this enough, but in the last year's presentation, I started talking about ankle tension. You have to have functional ankle tension. So everybody stand up real quick. All right. You kind of get in your skier stance like this. and then pull your toes back, right? And then put the pressure just right in front of the heel. And then right at the last second, relax. Relax your ankles. So you're getting to pull your toes up off the ground, get into stance, get that pressure just right in front of the heel, and then relax your ankles. So what happened there?
Sit down in my chair.
Exactly. So a lot of what we talk about with fore aft comes from that ankle tension. And when we lose ankle tension, that's where things happen. And Tom Gilly, if you have a chance, if you subscribe to him, has a really, really good video talking about this exact same thing that he brought from last year. Really, really interesting. Talking about how you have to maintain some kind of ankle tension, because when you do, you turn into kind of the floppy fish. And but it is kind of fun. You get to this one position and suddenly you lose, you relax your ankles and you immediately go back, right? Because you lost all that ability to kind of pull in. All right, cool. Another important thing that I probably needed to be, we have, because we're talking about fore aft, we're talking about joints, right? Ankles, knees, hips. And those muscles control those ankles, knees, and hips are really, really important too. So we have the tibialis anterior. You guys know where that is? If you don't, you just
That's in the front of your shin, right?
put your foot on the ground, put your hand on the right side of the knee, and you go down about halfway down your shin bone. And then lift your toes up. If you feel something moving in there, that's your tibialis anterior. You'll feel a muscle get like tense. And then the opposing muscle, of course, is our calf, which is also another very, very important muscle for us. Even though we have activate our tibialis anterior, we could also use our calf muscles too. Then we have our hamstrings and thighs, which control the flexion and extension of our knee joint. That's quads and hamstrings. And then one that we're talking about a little bit more tonight is the glutes versus the hip flexors. And the glutes are like, when we're doing that kind of movement that you saw Donna doing back a couple of slides ago. Here, this one here. And she goes from this point here where she's on top of the mogul to just past the mogul. Look what's happening with her. Look what's happening with her ski boots. And there is a pullback motion that is happening, and that happens from your hamstrings, and it happens from your glutes. And that's how you get your base of support back underneath your center of mass. Cool. Tibialis anterior, dorsiflexes, and inverts. Here's the movement of the ankle for those of you who don't remember. All right, then there's anybody had any experience with pelvic tilt? Nobody's
I've been
ever
working on that.
Huh?
I've been working on that to
Have
get
you?
a better posture. Yeah,
Yeah, cool. What do they, in terms of skiing or just everyday life?
both.
Both? What do they tell you in the skiing?
Well, essentially move the pelvis sort of forward, for me.
Yeah, kind of like, instead of being like this,
Yeah,
like this, and you kind
yeah,
of tilt it a little bit more forward, not too much so that affects where your spine is at, because you don't want to compress your lumbar support. But this is, when we stand up tall, we naturally go ahead and pull our hips tilted. When we get to skiing, for some reason, a lot of people stick their butts out. But if we pull the hips back in, we get back to that kind of more neutral position. And we're able to kind of stand on them all day. And there's also some other things that happen too, positive and negative. So, all right, here we go. Tactics for bumps and changes in terrain. And this is kind of where we see that. Look how quickly the tips go down. And I'm sure some of you got done this drill in training. Have you done that hamstring pullback drill in training? Initiation, where you just kind of, at the initiation, you just pull your skis back. I'll make somebody do that next year. Hey, tell me about the pullback drill. Who's ready for some bumps?
I want to ski like that person someday.
You want to ski like what?
I want to
I
ski like
ski-
that person in the video.
I ski just
That
like
looks
that in
so
my
easy.
dreams.
Yeah, I want to ski like that too. All right, here's Richie Berger. Here we go, full, oh, that's double speed. Let's just do 100B, there we go. And I believe this is I think this video is from Japan. It's one of those technical competitions.
Wow.
If you don't know who Richie Berger is, he's a former demo team guy from Austria. And just an absolutely amazing skier. But look how quickly he gets those skis down.
Is this normal speed or you have it speeded up?
I think this is normal speed.
Jeez.
You could do this, Rebecca.
Oh, I know. I look just like that.
This is how I always look in bumps. Except my body's the one that's bouncing and the skis are going straight. All right, let's slow them way down here. But notice those skis are moving quickly down. Unfortunately, they just don't have very many good videos. They don't have any videos of a guy going sideways through bumps, really. Gelly does. I could have ripped it from there. I didn't even think about that. I don't know whether they're timed on this or not. I know they rate by speed too in these competitions. Those things just look like they're mean. Any thoughts or comments?
Young legs.
Yeah, actually, I think he's our age, Scott.
Oh, now I really feel bad.
I have to look it up now.
His skis must be really stiff. Just watching how they behave, they are not flexing a lot when they're coming off those bumps.
He's a year younger than I am, Scotty. He was born in 68. So he's just a nice solid 56 years old, 57, 55 years old.
It's pretty good skiing.
Pretty good. I think he's from in St. Anton, I believe.
Yeah, well, he probably started skiing in the womb.
Oh, before.
That's amazing.
All right, you want to see somebody a little bit more achievable? Where's my guy at? No. Oh, here we go. All right. So in comparison, this is sad. Now I got to get him up to 1 speed so he can actually make it down the hill in the next 15 minutes. So this is certainly not Richie Berger. Or it may be Richie Berger, but spelled Burger or something like that. What are the main differences?
Well, he's turning with his upper body.
Why is he turning with his upper body?
What a Stevie Wonder.
You know, you see this a lot to varying degrees. In bumps, it's steeper, it's difficult terrain. People want to get those skis across the hill. Like
Yeah.
turn with their whole body to get them across the hill.
Exactly.
So it's an intent thing.
It is intent.
Yeah.
He wants to slow down.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's going to be a lot of upper body twist in there. But what's that is how is that affecting his since we're talking about fore aft, how's that affecting his fore aft? What is he doing in his fore aft?
He's not. He's like totally sitting in the back, turning with his upper body. Skis are converging.
He's just using an up down motion, and you know, he's back, but he's not way back. I mean, he's
If you look at his ankles, they're
well, but he's got his knees bent, his hips bent so much forward that he's he's keeping his weight there. You're right. His ankles aren't flexed, but look at how far forward his upper body is.
That's what I was looking for. Was that he is what is happening with his joints? His ankles are open. Well, they're open-ish, or they're really, really stiff boots. I can't really tell. Right? Because they're right here, it's like they're open, knees are bent, and he's compensating with a whole lot of hip flexion, right? So he can get something going forward. This isn't the worst I've ever seen, but because he does, when he gets over the top of a bump, he does start to get the tips down. But the question I have is what's affecting what? Do you think, Scott, you're the one that brought it up. I mean, there's a
his proportions are off, right?
Is he doing upper body swing because of his posture, or did his posture cause the upper body swing? Or is it a combination of both?
I think it's both.
Yeah,
You know, you could be right on the equipment thing. If those boots are too stiff, the only way he can get his weight where it needs to be is bending at the hips to get his upper body forward.
yeah, I don't see a lot of, I don't know how old he is. He
Yeah,
could be 12 years old, right?
right.
115 pounds, got 110 flex in his boots, and those things are like cement galoshes. It's just shins are
Right.
just not gonna move.
I saw something really interesting. I don't remember if it was Tom Gelly or somebody else, but he had a 120 versus a 130 boot. And the 120 boot was a lower model and the 130 was a higher model. It actually flexed smoother and more easily than the 120 rated flex that was cheaper because of construction. The construction of the 120 boot just didn't let it move very well at all.
Right, right.
So, they may not be rated that stiff, but they might be a less expensive boot and they just aren't designed well or have the right materials to be able to flex smoothly.
Or it's 6 below. I've had every year I've had a couple, 3 girls that have come in and their boots are just so ridiculously stiff. This is the only way that they could ski. This is how they look. Because they're just so stiff, they can't flex the boot. And I'll just briefly mention it to mom and dad. And man, I really do think her boots are so stiff that she can't do anything. Because, 10 or 11-year-old girl is not even close to 100 pounds. And dad probably got her some ski boots over to Christmas, and and he's like, well, we're going to grow into these. So not only are they too big, but they're too stiff.
But I think Scott made a good point. You just look at him and he kind of screams out big growth spurt this year.
Yeah.
Very, very long limbs, very lean. So maybe just not the coordination right now to be able to do dorsiflexion with the boot on.
Cool. So looking at him just this little briefly, real quick, how is why do people rotate, right? Why do people do upper body rotation? Because it's intuitive. I mean, it's a very powerful movement. It's slow, but it's a very powerful movement. It's easy to do and people understand it, right? I've been going that way. I want to go this way. I'm just going to go like this, right? That's what I want. That's how I get the skis to move from one side to the other. Leg turning is a learned movement. You don't do that naturally unless you've been skating or skiing for years. It's not something that's intuitive. So yeah, we always want to be working on trying to get them to learn how to move or rotate their lower legs or rotate their legs at all and separate from the upper body. But that's not what this kid is. So we're gonna what I'm gonna ask right now is, how is the upper body swing affecting his fore aft?
Well, I think, the question was which is affecting which. When he gets pressure to the tails of the skis, they're not going to rotate easily. So he's got to throw a big upper body movement to get them moving, and he kind of gets a little up down.
Right.
Maybe if he could get his ankles flexed and get pressure to the tips of the skis and get some performance out of them, he wouldn't need to make such a big movement to get them to.
No, he would. But he'd have to be moving down the hill to get that to work, right? Instead of up. So we got 2 problems. We got stiff boots, and we have someone who's not willing to sacrifice his body by flinging himself down the hill, right? I mean, you have to trust in bumps that if you move your body down the hill, that the skis are going to catch up to you. Because they've been barely working so far. Why would I think that they're going to keep up with me?
Gordon, I like the way you said that. That was very clear.
Yeah.
Did you passed your level 3 MA this year, didn't you?
I did, yeah, in May.
It
Jim
shows.
Shaw
Congratulations.
and Ben Potts, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna start leaning on you now. Uh-oh. Gotta go. Rebecca had to go. Kevin had to go. No problem.
Hey, but I have to tell you something, Chuck.
Yeah.
I passed my level 2 ski.
Good.
Yeah, so now I just got to go take the MA.
Well, that's why you're here today, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I got to go take the teach part. I passed the ski. Now I got to do the teach.
Oh, you gotta do the teach? Okay.
And that's the MA and, prescribing. And
Have you done the MA yet?
no, I've done nothing. I just did the teach, I passed it right in, what was it? I think end of April, May.
Okay.
End of April I did, or was it May? I don't remember because we had so much snow. And, now I'll go back and take the teach and then I'll have it all.
Good.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what would you do to this child?
Oh,
Besides,
what would I do with him? I would practice side slips.
yeah. Yeah.
I would do side slips for sure.
Take him
I
out
mean,
of the bumps, get him in
working
some
on
side slip.
counter.
Yeah. I like that idea. It'd help him get balanced, would help him get out over that outside ski. Help him start to appreciate a little bit of upper and lower body twist. Cool.
And then short radius turns.
Yeah. Cool. All right, back to what little I have left here. All right, I think the only thing I got left is yeah, how fore aft affects other skills negatively. This is from the previous one. We're gonna go, I went ahead and did them a little bit. I went ahead and did them a little better this time from beginning. Did I lose the video there? I have a funny feeling I gotta go back in and redo this. Bing. Bing, bing, bing. And we want to go to, all right, edging. So, and if you guys got something to add here, I want to hear it, right? I mean, fore aft to me and edging are kind of like really closely related because they start talking about grip and where along the ski you want the grip to happen, right? Because we can bend the ski flat anytime we want, fore, back, in the middle, but nothing really happens until we're edging, right? And we want to use the ski design. Skis are designed to help you do this. I hope so. I always tell them they're geniuses. They help design the self-turning ski, but in order to do that, we have to be able to manipulate where the ski is happening. So you have to stand over the part of the ski you want to get gripped. This is that base support center of mass thing. The skis are designed to extend grip, right? So we don't need to move all the way. You don't have to have your shoulders over the tips to get them to bend. You only have to move really this far in terms of your center of mass to the base of support in order to get the tips to engage, or to get the tails to engage, or to get the center of the skis to engage. The skis are designed that way. Bending in the front enables skis to self-steer, bending in the back reduces the ability for the skis to turn. And this is straight from the technical manual. Those of us who came from racing used to be able to stand on the back of the ski, and I always called it the turniest part of the ski. If you could live with the sling, you're going to get slung, right? But trying to get back forward was always the hard part. Extending the legs flattens the skis and reduces ability to edge more or less. So
What do you mean by that, extending the legs? Because you
if your
can
legs are
extend your legs out and
no,
increase the
extend your
edge angle.
legs. We're talking about flexion and extension.
right? But if you're extending your legs out, you're moving them away from your center of mass. If your center of mass stays at the same level, your edge angle increases.
Maybe I need to say that in a different way. But
Yeah,
even though you're extending your legs out, doesn't mean that you're fully extending your legs.
you mean moving your center of mass up is going to
If I
reduce your edge
move-
angle.
If I move, well, no, I just say extend my legs. If I move like this, and my legs are extended, my ability to edge, I can't edge very much. I have
No,
to
your
incline a lot.
center of mass has to be low to create an edge angle, but I'm saying you can extend laterally as
You can
opposed to
extend
vertically.
laterally, but functionally, do we extend all the way out laterally too? Because if we do, we
extend-
lose the ability to angulate. Right? So we have to have some flexion. But if we extend our legs all the way out, we flatten the skis in relation to the leg.
Yeah, see, I'm just gonna disagree with you on that, because you're saying
what-
that the center of mass has to come up.
The center of mass would have to come up, yes.
Yeah,
What if we said straightening our legs?
How about if I just say straight legs?
no, because I'm sitting here, I'm gonna straighten my legs. My legs are now fully straight. My center of mass hasn't moved up. If I had skis on, the edge angles would be sky high. Does that make sense?
Wait a
I am
minute,
straightening my legs.
right.
I'm
Well, you know,
straightening them
extending your legs
laterally.
laterally, but
If
is
I
your leg
straighten them
straight?
this way, my center of mass moves up, and yeah, that flattens the skis.
It does
So
flatten. the skis.
think about that. I think that would be good to reword that.
I will reword that one. All right.
Extending the legs vertically.
I like the word straightening. Or just use straight leg.
Right.
Straight leg. Over edging increases the speed. and We've all felt this. Where the bend that will result in the base of support leaving the center of mass behind. I think all of us have felt this squirt before.
So you mean that the skis are accelerating in a new direction, and they're
Yeah,
accelerating
exactly.
from the center
Increases
of
the
mass.
increases the speed and also shortens the turn radius.
Yeah. Exactly. We felt this in bumps, right? That's why you want to be slippery, slidey in bumps and not like,
Yeah.
Harvey. Cool. All right. Fore aft in rotation. Over flexing, extending legs. I'm gonna have to say straighten, reduces the ability to rotate the legs. Proper flexion while balanced over the ski allows for maximum torque from the legs to be delivered. I got a cool little drill I do for this one. If you stand up and you flex your legs a little bit, about halfway down, it's really easy to turn them. I gotta get a little further back here. Be like this, and you can just turn your legs really easy. But if you're up here, it's way harder to do it. But if I get overextended, I can't do it either. All right, overflexed, I can't do it. There's that sweet spot, like right in here, where I can just really put a lot of maximum torque on my legs. We talked about this upper body rotation throws the center of mass upward, uphill, back and away from the base of support, essentially straightening the legs. And then pull use can affect rotation and fore aft. And we talked about that a little bit. I mean, pull preferences vary, obviously. I don't know. How much taller is Jim Shaw than you, Gordon? Is he about the same height?
I think we're exactly the same height. I think we're both
6'4" or
6'4".
6'3" or something like that.
Mhm.
But he has poles that are way longer, right?
Yeah, I think they're 4 inches, 3 inches in longer anyway.
And like I said, Larry Murdoch has got 46 centimeters. No, what is it? 46-inch ski or poles. I use 43-inch poles. So I think it comes down to preference more than anything else. But the idea for the 43-inch was Because I'm kind of more of an old school bump skier. Sometimes I hang on to the bump too long and it will spin me. And that was in an effort to keep from, I just leave the pole in the ground too long and it gets me spun around a little bit. And though that was an effort to keep from doing that. Now I've got different tactics that I use instead. I just kind of go down the hill like this instead of leaving it way back here, getting that monkey paw out there where, you're really kind of stuck here. But if you're here and you do a little pole flick, then you can just push the fist down the hill. This kind of pole, you just go right over the top of the pole. But yeah, I mean, and the poles also affect your ability to move, start and stop rotation, which is kind of why it's part of the rotational scheme outside agencies. But it will also affect, if you leave a pole in too long or you stab the ground too hard or things like that, it will affect your fore aft also.
The other thing that I kind of focused on last year, because it was something I was doing wrong, is if you plant your pole too close to the tip of your ski, like up front where you're going across the hill, you're squaring yourself up across the hill. So you need to be planting that pole down the hill, like perpendicular to your boot, if your boot's toes pointed across the hill. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise you get squared up.
Yeah.
So that's
Good point.
that's a huge rotation issue with how you make your pole plants.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, next one is ski to ski. And the key to this one is that you have to be balanced. This goes back to that kind of idea of stance instead of like fore aft as a one skill and ski to ski as another skill, but being balanced over the skis. That way you can consciously be moved to be balanced over the new outside ski, which helps you align over that ski with your center of mass, which is what we're seeing this skier do here. And then standing on the inside ski does not allow you to move easily to the new next ski. And then on the other side of that is standing on the outside ski too long causes that kind of up and over event, which again, that affects your ability to move down a hill, which is where fore aft gets back involved again. Any questions on that one? Gordon's thinking. I can see him thinking there. All right, cool.
On standing on the outside ski too long. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I understand that.
So you've heard of the up and over, right?
So yeah, getting up and then coming over to the inside.
Yeah. So if you're coming around and turn, you get to like right here, and you're still standing on this ski here, it blocks your body's ability to move this way. You have to kind of go like this. And then you go down in. And they call that the up and over. So you're here, and you have this long straight leg. It blocks your ability to move down into the next turn. So what do they do instead? They go either up and over, or they have to square up and then twist. And you'll start recognizing it a lot more this next year. You'll see people kind of stand. That was kind of what Adam was doing there. He was kind of standing on that outside leg because he was trying to figure out how to slow down after wasting the first 2/3 of the turn doing it. And his leg was so straight, it was blocking his ability to move down the hill. So he had to do the big up and twist, which squared him up. All right, cool. Magnitude of pressure. I'm gonna leave these kind of where they're at, but flexing and extending, the magnitude of pressure is about flexing and extending and edging and rotation. But in this case, we're just gonna kind of limit it to the flexing and extending. And it goes in both directions, where you're moving along the length of the ski and you're also moving in relationship to the basis support from the center of mass, where they get closer and further apart. And then we also compensate for stance changes in train, according to train tactics or other, by flexing and extending to increase or decrease our pressures.
So Chuck, couldn't you also say that getting pressure to the tip of the ski early is regulating the magnitude? You're bringing pressure earlier into the turn.
You
so
know,
that
I
you
might
don't
add
have to
that.
get as
That's
much
a good
pressure
point. I
late.
might add at the end, yeah. That if we can smooth the pressure, we smooth the pressure arc by early engagement by having problem is now I brought all four of the fundamentals back in there, right? Because I have to have pressure on the ski, I have to have edging, right? I have to
Yeah.
be standing and aligned over the new outside ski in order to kind of smooth that pressure. So yeah, when you start talking about engagement like that, it gets, I have to be careful about how far deep in the weeds I get with magnitude of pressure. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people have them. Once you realize how it is affects all the other fundamentals affect your magnitude of pressure and how it affects it, timing wise, tactics wise,
Yeah.
training stuff, then you're like, okay, I got a eureka moment. But I don't know where everybody's at. So I have to be careful sometimes. I don't want to confuse.
Yeah. I've been doing the calls with Chris Caruso and the
Yeah, how has that been? I haven't gotten to any of those.
Oh,
What's the tough one
it's
for?
been amazing. He brings out great skiers. Last week we watched two
Yeah, all you're gonna see is
Argentino
great
and demo team members and
Yeah.
talked about the differences in what they were doing in a demo run from Interski.
Good. I'm glad you're getting something out. I've been
Yeah.
doing the children's and I've been
Yeah.
doing the level twos. I just kind of been sitting in on the level twos. Just because I need to hear somebody else's voice. But the children's has been very rudimentary.
Gordon, is that a weekly call?
Yeah, it's on
If
Wednesdays.
you want me to send it to you, you just pretend you're at a Vail resort.
Oh,
You
is it-
know,
is it-
that the first time I attended, I introduced myself and said, "Hey, I'm from Winter Park. I hope that's okay." And he said, "Sure."
There's a lot of people from Stevens Pass have been showing up.
Yeah, Peter Levan is going in. Noriko's there, so
Okay,
I guess Noriko is epic.
So they won't shoot me if I show up?
no, they won't.
Yeah, just don't tell him I said so.
Yeah, you
I'll
didn't
tell
hear.
him, I'll tell him you invited me, Gordon.
Yeah, exactly.
Just tell him that Chuck invited you and he'd be like, that dickhead. We just can't have nice things with that guy getting involved.
Yeah, Marin, you should definitely get on.
It would be a good one for you too.
Is it the same kind of thing, a movement analysis?
It's straight movement analysis, yeah.
It's
And I'll send
exactly the same
I'll send
thing.
you and Marin the links.
Okay.
Marin, do you want
Yeah,
level
he's-
2 or level 3?
he's-
Level 2 is on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock your time, and level 3 is on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. And on the level
Yeah.
2, they just been kind of rotating through different people.
And just so you know, to get into the level 3 event on Wednesday night, you got to click the level 2 link. The level 3 link doesn't work.
Oh,
Maybe,
okay.
is it like that with the RMT too? Because I tried the RMT and that was like, because that's a night that I can make it.
Yeah, you might
Link doesn't
try
work.
just
Wait,
clicking
who's
other
running
links.
this level 2 and level 3?
It's Vail Resorts is running it, but it's the guys out of Breckenridge.
How do you get onto that?
I have a link. I can send you the link.
Can you please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
but I'll just send what you just said. Use the level 2 link. Yeah, just beware. Just use the level 2 link, and I'll send it to you. It's just
Okay,
another
beautiful.
opportunity to do summer training.
Yeah, no, really want is, it doesn't matter what level, I just want to be able to take this one and done.
I got you, I'll get that to you too. Do I have your email? What's your email?
Rita Koike@mac.com.
I know yours.
Okay.
Just go ahead and throw it in there so I can be reminded of what it is. All right, cool. Any questions about what we did tonight? It just seems like it was so little for so long. My God, it's been an hour and a half. Perfect.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right.
Thank
cool.
you.
Anybody got any outcomes they want to share? Anything new that was interesting? Anything? Nothing? Nada? All right.
I got off crutches this week. I just got 2 more weeks in a walking boot.
From what?
I had foot surgery.
Cool.